big job using powerful equipment. Alertness, moment to moment, is your greatest ally. No video can make you a safe equipment operator. Like a book, this video intends to make you aware of key areas where you need to stay alert, stay alive. It shows you how to begin training for safety, studying safety from day one, making sure your equipment's in good operating condition before you go to work, loading and transporting, checking out the job site in advance, handling potential hazards. We'll talk about the danger zone, and we'll look at the most important component of all. This video is short. It'll be finished in a few minutes. We kept it short for two reasons. Because your time is valuable, and so you won't hesitate to take a few minutes to check it out again from time to time. We'll start at the beginning. Each year, people are injured in equipment accidents. A lapse of concentration can lead to injuries that can have a devastating effect on lives and futures. Too often, they took it for granted that accidents only happen to someone else. Accidents can happen to anyone, but safety awareness drastically reduces the chances of injury. And nothing is more important than safety awareness. The day's work schedule or the importance of the job is never so great that you can't take the time to do the job safely.
The responsibility for safety is a team effort and an individual effort. This requires training and retraining so that operators don't become complacent about safety.
It starts with equipment that's well maintained and has all guards and decals in place. It takes study of the manufacturer's operator and service manuals. It means working within a well-planned and comprehensive safety training program. Only in this way can you be aware of the procedures for safe operation, transportation, and maintenance. Observing safe operation practices and constantly reinforcing safety procedures keeps safety awareness a high priority. Complacency is a tough and persistent enemy which must be fought every working day. Begin every working day with a complete inspection of your equipment before you leave for the job site. It's the best way to avoid unpleasant surprises. First, with the hydraulic components lowered and resting on the ground, the parking brake set and the engine off, inspect the tires for punctures and cuts. Look over the hydraulic hoses and connections, checking for leaks, damage, and excessive wear. And check under the machine for oil spots. Check for fuel leaks. Needless to say, there's no smoking while refueling. Note such things as loose bolts, tooth wear, and tension on the digging chain. If it needs adjustment, it's easier to do it in the shop, not in the field. Check the ground drive components and the hydraulic fluid. Decals tell you how to operate your equipment properly and alert you to potential dangers. Make sure they're in place now so you know they'll be there when you need them. Make sure you use the right length restraint bar for the boom and chain. And if the digging boom is extended, the bar should be exchanged for a longer one that provides full-length protection. Finally, check those components that are there to protect you. Check the ROPS and all shields and guards. Check that your start interlock switches are functioning properly. Then, with the engine running, use a piece of cardboard, not your fingers, to check for hydraulic leaks now that the engine has pressurized the hydraulic system. Make sure the controls work properly. And make sure you know how to stop your machine in an emergency. Machines differ, so be sure you know the emergency stop before you start the engine.
Now, this whole process is maybe 5 minutes. But in terms of the job to be done and the safety of the people doing the job, it's the most important 5 minutes of the day. Only when you have finished this inspection are you really ready to go to work.
The first rule of loading and transporting: the towing vehicle and its cargo must be compatible. The truck and trailer must have the capacity to carry the equipment. If you're in doubt, don't guess. Check the trailer manufacturer's load rating specifications. Make sure the hitch is the right one for the trailer you're using. Check to see that all connections are made, so electric brakes and lights are operating properly. And always use safety chains and breakaway devices to complete the hookup. Only after the hookup is made should you load the equipment onto the trailer. With observers clear of the loading area, put the equipment in the lowest gear or speed range. Keep the engine at low to mid-idle speed and drive the equipment onto the trailer until it reaches a position which assures proper weight distribution of the load. Now, lower unstowed attachments to the trailer bed. Set the parking brake. Turn off the engine and remove the key. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for parking the equipment. Always use tie-downs with binders and chain the machine down properly. And before you leave, check your trailer lights and reflectors.
Some accidents with trenchers occur not on the job, but on the way to and from the job. People might not be in a big hurry to get to the job, but they always rush back to the shop at the end of the day. Job safety doesn't end at the job site. It follows you home.
Staying alert around your equipment is only part of your responsibilities. Before you're ready to begin work, you've got to understand your job site and any potential problems it might present. One major hazard is buried service lines. Call all utility companies or the one-call service to find out if there are buried lines on the site. And whenever possible, it's always smart to double-check with your own detection equipment. Of course, you'll inspect the site for signs marking buried lines and tell everyone in the crew what you found. And when the job is finished, your installation will need its own warning signs.
There are still a few people out there who overlook a major step in preparing for the job site: personal protective equipment. But most of us realize that these things are here to save our sight, our hearing, our lives. And if they can do that, why would anybody not use them?
Loose-fitting clothes and dangling jewelry can easily get caught in the machinery's moving parts. You can imagine the rest. Leave them at home. If special equipment such as flashers, spark arresters, warning signs, and fire extinguishers are needed, be sure they're in place before you begin working. It's not a good idea to operate equipment alone. Always have help in the area. Make sure everyone is clear of the area before starting the engine or engaging the controls. And only attempt to start the machine from the operator's seat or station. For obvious reasons, there's a chance of rollover accidents when working on slopes. To reduce the chance of a walk-along unit from tipping over while driving, keep the digging boom or plow as low as possible. Always walk on the uphill side of the equipment, so if it should tip, it won't roll in your direction. And always keep the machine in gear. On riding models, drive up or down a slope whenever possible. If you must drive across a slope, keep all attachments low for a lower center of gravity. And use your backhoe outriggers or backfill blade to help keep the machine from tipping. Even with these precautions, equipment can still tip. Your rollover protective structure and seat belts are a system of protection that must be in place, must never be removed or modified, and they must always be used together. When raising the plow, do it slowly so you can stop if the unit begins to tip. Move the plow to the uphill side, and beware of plows that can suddenly swing downhill when raised out of the ground.
The risk of tipping is greatest when you're working horizontally across a slope. The best idea is to work up and down the slope if you can. You still have to be very careful, of course, but there's less chance of tipping if you can head up or down the slope.
Here are some more things to watch out for. Beware of low-lying tree limbs, which can strike hydraulic controls. With any trencher, start digging at least a foot from fences, trees, or structures so the teeth can't snag them and pull the unit out of your control. Never use rear steering at high speeds. And remember, no riders, ever. Wherever trenchers are at work, there's the possibility that someone will get too close to the backhoe or digging chain and auger. So always be aware of the machine's danger zone, an area at least 6 feet from the maximum reach of any part of the equipment. No one, except the person in the operator's seat, must ever get closer than 6 feet to the operating equipment. This includes the backhoe swing area. Clothing, tools, and yes, even arms and legs can be caught in the digging chain and auger. In soft soil, the sides of the trench can suddenly cave in, carrying onlookers into the digging chain. Rocks and other material can be thrown out of the trench. And anytime you're working with a boring tool, be especially careful. Control the boring rod so it won't bow offline. If no one gets close, no one can be snagged by the turning rod. Even while you're shutting down, the danger zone should be observed.
Trenching equipment today has more potential for safe operation than ever before. There's no doubt about that. But all the safeguards can still be ignored. Any human being can defeat any safety device.
Which brings us to the final chapter. It's the most important component in any underground construction job. And that is you, the equipment operator. Ultimately, it's the operator and only the operator who is responsible for keeping co-workers and onlookers out of the danger zone, for avoiding hazards and working safely on slopes, for thoroughly checking out the area where he'll be working, for properly loading and transporting his equipment, for making sure the equipment is in good working order from the beginning, and for knowing the right ways to do the job. The operator who's smart enough to work safely, that's the key component. It's the aware operator who knows how to stay alert, stay alive.